After a really unexciting week 17 of the season, I can actually speak for most of the hosts on Sports Club and say, thank God we're in the playoffs, so we can actually have some interesting football.
Yep.
Worth talking about.
Yeah, really.
The wild card weekend is finally here, and this is actually something that everybody looks forward to when you look at the beginning of the season. Is
Mhm.
you want the playoffs.
Yep.
Most of the weeks, I mean, they matter. I mean, that's true, but
Certainly.
you always look for the playoffs. Just like
Absolutely.
with everything, with
Mhm.
baseball, basketball, hockey. I mean, you always look for the playoffs because the playoffs are when the real
It's
season
what
starts.
defines you. It's what defines you. A regular season great record is terrific, but a one and done in the playoffs it defines you.
Or I mean, last year 13-3 Atlanta Falcons, first seed in the NFC,
Mhm.
lose first or in their playoff game.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What was it? 2008 Patriots,
Mhm.
16-0 in the regular season,
Mhm.
actually made it to the Super Bowl, loses.
Lost.
So I
2007.
mean, 2007,
2007.
excuse me.
And that's what you remember. They went into the Super Bowl as a perfect team and lost.
Mhm.
You don't remember that they had a phenomenal regular season through that. You remember what they did in the playoffs.
Yep.
Just like the Packers from last year, very mediocre regular season. Went through blitzkrieg in the playoffs, won the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Aaron Rodgers is a god.
Barely made it into the playoffs
Yeah,
last year.
absolutely. Yep.
Let's see what kind of playoff stories we can find this year. The Bengals are facing off against the Texans. Both teams actually squeaking into it. Bengals actually getting some help last week to actually make it into the playoffs. They needed what, two teams to lose
Mhm.
to actually make
And they
the
both
playoffs,
did.
Yep, and they did.
and they both did. Cincinnati are coming in 9-7 record in the regular season, 5-3 away, which I mean they're
Better
a
than a
good
lot of
away
people thought
team.
they would do.
Yeah. Um, and we were actually, you guys actually mentioned this in the preview show, is this could actually be the first playoff game ever to actually have two quarterbacks
Rookie
that are
quarterbacks.
rookies
Yeah. Yep.
starting in the same
And it
game.
looks like that will happen. When I saw Yates get injured last weekend, I was like,
Oh no.
yeah, Jake Delhomme comes in, you've already lost the game. They said that was just precautionary. He will start, so it will be two starting rookie quarterbacks for the first time ever in NFL history. And let's stop and pause right here and give credit where credit is due. Andy Dalton has put together an amazing rookie season, extremely overshadowed by what Cam Newton has done in Carolina and what Jesus has done out in Denver. Dalton has looked very, very good for what he has been thrown into there in Cincinnati.
But you're also, and you just made a point that bugs the crap out of me. And forgive me, people, for if you're watching this, you can send all the hate mail you want to me. But why are we still throwing Tim Tebow into the rookie ranks?
Because he plays like a rookie.
He's got a year under his belt.
Still plays like a rookie.
Kinda.
It's a full year. He
That-
had a full training camp
Yeah.
and a full season under his belt. Why are we still considering him a rookie?
The same reason
I
we'll
don't know.
consider him to be a rookie the next 5 years. He'll play like one. I mean,
Okay.
It
the long
works
and
for
short of
me.
it, that's when you play like a child, we're gonna treat you like one.
I said midseason that Andy Dalton should be the rookie of the year just simply because he should be. Him and AJ Green have turned out to be a heck of a 1-2 combo. Cam Newton, don't get me wrong, Cam Newton's had an exceptional year this year. He passed Peyton Manning's rookie record
Yes,
for
he did.
passing yards. But Cam Newton is what, 6-10 this year?
Mhm.
Andy Dalton's 9-7. It's like the Heisman. You don't see a 6-10 or a
Yep.
6-6 quarterback who has the same stats as a 13-0 quarterback win the Heisman.
Mhm.
Exactly.
I really think that Andy Dalton should win the
I hope he
rookie
does.
of the year.
That's a
you
debate for another day because I could go on and on.
Well,
About that.
yeah, we all know how I feel about Cam Newton, and so
Yeah. You gotta
I-
take that poster down, man.
I
It's
just
a little disturbing.
I have my fingers crossed about Andy Dalton.
Going back to the game, Houston actually won the game earlier in the season. It was actually the game, if I remember correctly, that Matt Schaub
Week
actually
14,
went out.
I think so.
Yeah, week
By
week
1
14
point.
they won 20-19. What do you think the key matchups are in this game? I mean,
Key matchup obviously is AJ Green.
Yep.
With the
Against
defensive backs.
anybody.
Yep, yep. Houston's defense has been number one overall, depending on what you look at, all season long. Very good defense, very solid. For the Bengals, again, it's Cedric Benson. Can they get him going? Is he reliable? Can they get that ground attack going to where they can play a little play action? AJ Green over the top, Muhammad Massaquoi. It's really I think the biggest matchup is Andy Dalton and that wide receiver core of the Bengals versus the defensive backs of the Houston Texans. I think that is the biggest matchup in this game from my personal standpoint.
What do you think, Matt? What do you think the
Uh,
Texans need to do to win the game?
The Texans need to have a plan and stick to it because it's not hard to beat Cincinnati's defense. We've seen teams do it all year long, but they can't get caught up. There's a lot of pressure on them. There hasn't been the Texans themselves have never won a playoff game. There hasn't
They've
been
never made it to the playoffs.
Yeah, first time in franchise history.
And the last playoff win in Houston was in 1980 something with the Oilers. I mean, there's a lot of pressure on this team, and they've got to be cool and realize that they are statistically and should be the better team on the field that day. They got to keep their heads cool. I think they got to play smart, and I think if they do that, they stick to their own plan and don't let Cincinnati dictate the game. That I don't think Andy Dalton and AJ Green can get it done just by themselves. And I think the Houston will win the game.
With a win, are the Texans now the king of Texas? I was thinking about that today as diehard of a Cowboys fan that I am. Now, obviously not.
They've certainly done more in the last couple of years.
It would be this year, in the past few years. Obviously not overall. Dallas is the biggest NFL franchise.
Naturally.
But I'm a huge Dallas fan, but I would have to crown Texans the king of Texas.
Well, if you're going to do it, then it kind of speaks for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, if they win this playoff game, they are the best team in Texas.
Lions are facing sorry, let me get back to the game. Who do you got in the game?
Texans.
Bengals.
I'm going to take the Bengals as well. I think the Bengals actually have something to prove.
Maybe.
Lions are facing off against the Saints Saturday night at 8 o'clock on NBC. And another game that was actually played earlier in the season, Detroit came to New Orleans, lost 31-17. It's not destroyed if you lose by 2 touchdowns.
It was 31-10 at like the end of the third quarter. So
that's very good against the Saints. That's almost a win.
Yeah.
I mean, 13-3 is the second best record in the second best record, tied for second best record in the NFL this season. Detroit actually had a bounce back season. When you go 0-16 or whatever you had a couple years ago to a 10-6 playoff bound victory, you have to say that's a victory in itself.
Yep.
What you do in the playoffs, it defines you, but
we're going to see how far they've come. We're really going to see how far they've come.
Matt Stafford had an outstanding game last week against Green Bay.
Matt Stafford's been outstanding all season.
He really has. But Green Bay's secondary is completely different from New Orleans' secondary.
Yeah.
And New Orleans' defense
very underrated.
That's the difference.
Extremely underrated.
They're good.
I think besides the fact that Drew Brees has had a ridiculous year this year, their defense has been completely overshadowed by it.
Saints are 8-0 at home. It's going to be tough.
It's hard to win in the Dome.
I think the key matchup here, and it's going to sound ridiculous because of the year that Drew Brees has had, but if you watch the Saints at home, they really play heavily off the run. They give you a heavy dose of Pierre Thomas right up the middle, and they get you biting. And you know, Brees has the arm to throw it down to Marcus Goldston or Graham, but they bait you in that run, and they're very good at getting 4 to 5 yards a pop on their run game. And when you do that, it's obviously going to open up that pass. So I think the point of attack right now is I think Sue has to dominate the line of scrimmage.
Which he can do.
Which he can do. He has showed he can do that. Even in the NFL, he carried that game over from college. I think that is the key for the Lions. If Sue can dominate the point of attack, limit that rushing offense to where they know they're going to pass, it's still going to be hard. I'm not saying you can stop Breeze, but you have to limit him. And I'm going with the Lions, and I think this is the Lions' key to victory, is for Sue to take up 2 or 3 blocks on that offensive line, let those linebackers flow, and let them get in the backfield and hit the quarterback for a sack or the running back for a loss.
The only time the Saints have lost all year long, 3 times Drew Brees had nowhere to go in all 3 games. I mean, they found a way to get to Brees. They pressured Brees. They ultimately won the game.
He's only 6 foot tall, so if you can get those big linemen
in space, control him,
he has to find those throwing lanes.
You can win the game.
Absolutely.
3 losses this year: 1 against Green Bay at Green Bay, 1 against Tampa Bay at Tampa Bay, and 1 against St. Louis at St. Louis.
Those are not quality losses.
They're all at home. The Saints at home.
Yep.
So you have to. I'm going to take the Saints in the game. How about you?
Oh, without question. Saints all day. Kills me to say it, but Saints easily.
I'm going with the Lions.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
I have faith in Matthew Stafford and Megatron. I told you, I think Sue is ready to explode after that early season.
So we've been diverse so far.
Yeah.
Falcons are facing off against the Giants on Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock. It's in New York or in New Jersey at MetLife Stadium. Giants are coming off of a pretty substantial high as far as what you consider you beat your division rival to actually make it into the playoffs.
Thanks,
I mean,
Billy.
this is I'm sorry to say it,
Thanks.
but this is actually what Roger Goodell tried to do a couple years ago when he decided to
That's what
split
he had in mind.
Very smart.
division games
Very smart.
as the last game of the
I love
season.
it.
The Giants squeak into the playoffs 9-7. 4-4 at home though this year. I mean, they're beatable. Their secondary,
Absolutely.
Yep.
their secondary has been beat up. Their let's just talk about their defense before we hit their offense. Their secondary has been beat up. Their defensive line has been incredible all season long. On the other side, Falcons defense has been standing up lately. Minus if you take the St. Louis or the Saints game out of the equation, they've been outstanding.
Yep.
Their secondary has been incredible. And I'll go ahead and say it. I mean, I'm a huge fan, but I'm impressed. The way they turned it around from week one. On the other hand, Victor Cruz and Akeem Nicks have been outstanding.
Thorn in the side of the Dallas Cowboys faithful.
It's been rough to actually protect. So, I mean, what do you think the big key matchup is for it?
Key to me is the offensive line of the Falcons giving Matt Ryan time to throw the ball. The wide receivers of the Falcons have abundance of more talent than the secondary of the Giants. Julio Jones and Roddy White are much better. Harry Douglas, you can get Jacquez Rogers out there in the slot. All four of those players have more talent than the Giants secondary combined. If Matt Ryan has time to throw, I don't care about the deep ball. I don't care about explosive plays. I don't care about that. 5 yards, every other pass is just as good as 50 yards, one pass, and then 7 incompletions.
Yep.
Moving the ball down the field steadily and incrementally, working in a heavy dose of Michael Turner in the middle, play action, hit Julio Jones long, or Roddy White long, or Jacquez Rogers, or Harry Douglas in the slot, and a little slant. Tony Gonzalez, huge factor. I think the key to this is the Falcons' offensive line has to protect Mike Vick to throw the ball, and I believe they do this.
Falcons' offensive line have to protect Mike Vick?
I mean,
Matt Ryan.
Wow, that was a slip.
We're going old school.
Wow.
They have to protect him, and I believe they do, and I think the Falcons come away with this. I think the Falcons establish their foothold in the NFC as a force to be reckoned with. They're embarrassed after that loss last year to the Packers. They want to come out, and they want to prove that they are a legit NFC threat.
What do you think, Matt?
Well, for me, my key matchup is going to be Atlanta's defensive backs against Victor Cruz and Nicks. I think, far and away, it's clear that Atlanta's receivers are better than New York's defensive backs. And I think if Atlanta can control those two weapons, which, I mean, deadly, deadly weapons, then, I think Matt Ryan gets the playoff monkey off his back. Atlanta finally wins a playoff game.
Who do you think?
Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm not going to say, because every time I've picked Atlanta in the playoffs, it's come back to bite me in the butt.
That's why I said he gets the playoff monkey off his back. He's finally ready to take the next step.
Steelers are facing off against Tim Tebow and the Denver Broncos, and everybody is just so looking forward to this big matchup. I don't think it's going to be that big of a matchup.
Neither do I.
No, it's not.
I'm not impressed.
It's going to be a boring game.
I mean, Pittsburgh's defense has been incredible all season. I mean, it really has. I mean, they're a 12-4 record this year. They're 5-3 away, which means they had an incredible record at home. Denver, on the other hand, and I tried to look it up, and we looked up so far back, but we couldn't find it. Denver actually has a losing record at home this season, and I can't remember the last time a team hosted a playoff game with a losing record at home.
Yeah. That seems
it's
a
pretty
very
absurd.
oxymoron. I don't understand
that. It's just the same as last year, a 7-9 team winning the division, getting the playoffs when there's 2 10-6 teams that miss.
I really think
it's just one of those blunders that just happens to happen.
I really think this game is completely just the biggest mismatch of the weekend. I really think that Denver is going to lose, and they're not going to lose big because Pittsburgh's offense is struggling right now. But I think their defense is going to stand up and not let Denver do anything significant.
I don't think it's a mismatch when you take in consideration that Rashard Mendenhall is a huge part of the Steelers' offense, out for the season, torn ACL. Ben Roethlisberger is pretty much playing on one foot, and we've seen weeks past Roethlisberger's not good on one foot. Denver's defense, when in pressure situations, has been known to stand up to pressure.
Yep.
They're going to be playing against a one-footed Ben Roethlisberger and a backup running back, and
It's going to be a low-scoring game.
absolutely, absolutely. And Steelers D, for all as good as they've played this year, Palomalu has had a concussion. You don't get over that quickly. He still has concussion symptoms. They're very, very mild. They're starting free safety. It will be out because of sickle cell. He hasn't played the past 2 times they've played Denver, so that's 2 defensive backs that are going to be slightly damaged up. I don't think it's going to matter that much. Tim Tebow cannot throw the ball to save his life.
But any difference can make a difference.
Absolutely. I'm going to have to take, as dumb as this sounds, I'm going to have to take Denver at home in this one, just for the sheer fact that the Steelers are beaten up.
Well, it doesn't sound completely dumb because I'm also going to take Denver. Really, really light-footedly, this game could go just as easily go. I mean, it could be a 40-0 blowout.
I'll take Denver by a quarter
by
of a
the
point.
Steelers, and I would not at all be surprised.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
But I just think both defenses are playing well. Both quarterbacks are all but awful. And I just think that the Steelers have proven one thing this season, and that's that they're a great team, but they're past their prime.
Absolutely.
That they are definitely have more older players than younger talent.
Yep.
And, I think that may start to show. Denver's defense believes, and Denver's got a young team, an aggressive team. I think Denver's defense, not Tim Tebow, will get Denver a win in the playoffs.
I agree.
Roethlisberger in his 13 starts in postseason play has lost 4 games. That's all I'm going to say.
How many of those were?
I'm taking Pittsburgh in the game.
Understandable, but
What was his last pass in the playoffs?
It was an interception, if I'm not mistaken, against Packers last season.
Keeps that rolling.
it's very possible.
And he had 2 good
So
feet.
both of you have Denver?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. I'm going to take Pittsburgh in the game. I think it's going to be a big game for Pittsburgh. But that's it for the playoff prediction or preview for the week.
Now, yeah.
Next week, tune in. We're going to have the recap and the preview for the big games with the number 1 and number 2 seeds for each side.
Patriots all the way. We'll go ahead and get it out of there now.
And I'm going to start doing a breakdown once a week. I'll be starting from the first pick in the NFL draft and telling you what they need, what they're going to look for, what college players are available. Seniors, I'll be also throwing some juniors in there that I believe will be coming out. And I'll be letting all y'all know and would love to hear your feedback from your favorite team. I'll probably be posting 1 a week, maybe 2 a week on our Facebook and our blogger on our Google website. So just check our Facebook account for that link, and I'll also be posting on Twitter if you follow us on Twitter. So probably 1 NFL team a week, 32 weeks.
All right, guys, that's it. For Matt and Bryce, I'm Billy, and this is Spin Sports Club.